This is the Accidental Safety Pro, live at the 2019 National Safety Congress and Expo in beautiful San Diego. My name is Jill James, Vivid's Chief Safety Officer, and with me today I am joined by Christine McConnell, who is the Philanthropy Officer for the BCSP Foundation, or better otherwise known as the Board of Certified Safety Professionals. Christine, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Jill.
Really appreciate this. So, the foundation, tell us, for anyone who does, a lot of people are familiar with the Board of Certified Safety Professionals and the designations maybe that they've gotten through them, testing they've helped with, but maybe people aren't familiar with the fact that you have a foundation.
Well, it's because we're new.
Really?
I know, it's so brand new, Jill. It's an exciting time. So for those of you who are familiar with BCSP, you know we've been around for 50 amazing years contributing to the field. And over the evolution of those 5 decades, they've done a lot to invest back into the profession, and the board has really been committed to that. But they took a next step in the last decade to really make that manifest by supporting other organizations' foundations. They do a fair amount of giving through the ASSP Foundation to support students and other projects and research. And then they've also decided to do a lot of that on their own, supporting universities through their accreditation and reaccreditation programs, and then supporting students on their journey. So they were providing student scholarships. And then about 5 years ago, they decided, maybe we need to formalize our giving process. How do we do more in this space to support the profession? What does that look like? And then 2 years ago, they voted as a board to really take that next big leap. And they made a significant financial investment to get the foundation off the ground. And they've committed tremendous resources to it themselves, and then they're personally invested. And so it's now formally its own 501c3, and we're in that really interesting charitable space, and we have our own strategic plan, and we have our own group of donors, both individual and corporate, and it's really unique. But it's a direct reflection of BCSP's commitment to advancing the field, and it's kind of the softer side. So, Jill, we get to do really interesting things like you're aware of it. We kind of get to step outside of just the credentialing, and we've expanded beyond just professional advancement, but how can we support the field in other ways through research? Or how can we do other, take on big scope projects that would be otherwise limited by the business model for just BCSP, which is credentialing, which is huge on its own, right? So we get to be that kind of stretch side of safety and go really exciting spaces.
So what are some of the accomplishments of the foundation to date? Can you give us some ideas?
I think it's fun. So because we've just filed our first 990. So in January of...
What's a 990?
It's our tax exempt status. It's our IRS forms. It's a seriously, in the life of starting a giant, a philanthropy, it's a big deal.
It's a big deal. Congratulations.
So we actually were formally incorporated a year ago. And in that 1 year space, we held our first Research and Innovation Summit.
Oh, wow.
It was amazing. It was amazing. And that's the reason that we can do things like that, is because we sit so firmly on the foundation of BCSP's commitment to the community, and we can pull on those resources, both staff and credential holders. And that allows us to really go big right away. But we held our first Research and Innovation Summit, and that's one of the primary programs for the foundation. But we brought together 100 individuals to Indianapolis, and we had 2 full days, and during that time we conducted research roundtables too, which is really the larger framework of having this conversation about what do we not know in safety, and how do we get there, and that will drive the foundation's giving in research and innovation grants for the next 2 years, and then we'll bring those people back together and present again. But it was unbelievable accomplishment, so we're very excited about that. And then we have other projects that we're working on, but that's in a year. That's a really big deal.
A big accomplishment.
To have our first summit. and it was meaningful. So it was great.
So good things came of it. So research and innovation is one of the focuses of the foundation.
Yes.
Are there two other primary focuses?
We do.
Is that how it works?
We do. So we
Okay.
have the three. So we are maintaining that continued investment in faculty and in the school programs. So that tradition of giving that started was the initial idea for the foundation. We're maintaining that through our professional advancement opportunities. We're also supporting people through research and innovation, which is new. So we'll be doing master's and dissertation, so thesis and dissertation level investments. And then we'll do 3 at the master's and 2 at the doctoral level every year. And you can apply for all of those right through our website. So we have the whole online application process. It's a really great program. The student applications for student scholarships are in the same space.
Yeah.
And
so let's just pause for just a second
Yeah.
for people who are listening who are like, wait a minute, what? I'm a student right now.
Right.
Let's rewind. What did Christine just say is available for me?
$5,000.
Okay.
So we're awarding one $5,000 scholarship to every qualified academic program, a student from every QAP that BCSP has listed. And the good news is if you go to the website, all the criteria is right there, Jill. So you can read about deadlines. Yes, we have deadlines for submission and all of the application requirements. And it's all right there and available to you. And the same thing is true for the research funding and the innovation. So we do have some fund space in the research where we'll do one like proof of concept, early seed funding, and it's a small amount. It's a modest amount. It's about $25,000, and we'll do one of those per year. But it's enough to get people started on developing the concept. And then we'll do some collaborative giving through the foundation with other organizations that we've partnered with. So that's nice. But the innovation stuff,
Yeah.
Jill,
So exciting.
this is crazy cool. Okay, so this is for everyone who developed a solution in their garage. Like you were someplace and you and your buddy like needed to fix something and you looked around at all your coworkers and like, well, if we just had X piece and you went and made it in your garage out of like whatever, Legos, I don't care, but it fixed the issue.
Yeah.
And you realize maybe you don't have the skill set or maybe you don't know how
Yeah.
to bring that forward
Yeah.
and to do all the necessary paperwork for trademarking and
Sure.
protections.
And it's something that has to do with safety, both workplace or community?
Yes.
Is that it? Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a tangible. It can
Okay.
it can be a procedure. It can be anything that really steps into that safety space, but has the potential to impact lots of and benefit others. So we're here to
Yeah.
help you do that.
Right. So safety professionals who are listening, who have done something in their maybe workplace or their or maybe in their in type of industry, maybe an industry group, maybe you belong to a group for safety for just your type of industry, like one of our previous guests was talking about an electrical federation group they were part of, or I've mentioned I was part of the U.S. Poultry and Egg Association before, another professional friend who's part of a zoo and aquarium industry. Maybe as an industry group you came together and came up with a process, procedure, a thing
Right.
that you could go to the foundation for help to make it real or live
Right.
or within your own company.
Right. So it's
Okay.
really exciting. So it's 2 rounds of funding, right? So the first one is only $10,000 and it's sort of to like build.
Only. That
It's
sounds
to-
like a lot.
Well, $10,000 to move it. It's up to 10 to move it forward, right? But then we'll give you all the professional services to wrap around. So that $10,000 is really to build the mold or to like do some more testing or whatever it is, and then we'll do 2 of those a year. And then after that, what will happen is you can come to us and you'll sit through a panel and you could qualify for $50,000 and then the next level, and we'll hopefully help you match you with the marketplace. So that's kind of like we are working really hard at the BCSP Foundation to make sure that we're stepping into spaces that others haven't gone, right? Sometimes the work is like too big or it's too hard, or sometimes it's just like, I don't know, is there value in it? And so let's not duplicate, right? We're going to do the student scholarships because we believe in it and it's the right thing to do. And we're going to continue our support of other organizations through their scholarship programs. But I don't look at that as our primary driver, and that is something we just maintain and we will perpetuate. But the opportunity is in these research and innovation areas and in youth safety, and so doing those sorts of things it's making sure that we're creating a lot more opportunity in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, wonderful. Those are some really great and exciting pieces of
fun.
news. Yeah, for safety professionals to hear, especially you innovators out there who are like, this could be better. This could be different.
And you know how to make it better, right? Or you already have, but you're like, maybe you don't think that what you fixed for yourself and your other
company.
coworkers,
Sure.
where else it could go. And so let's help you take it there. Right.
Wonderful. And then you mentioned just a second ago that third initiative, youth safety. So talk a little bit about that.
So youth safety is really the driving force behind Dr. Turnbow. For those of you who don't know, Dr. Teresa Turnbow, she's the CEO of BCSP, but she's also a mom, right? So she raised 3 kids, and she's familiar with what it looks like for teens to enter the workplace.
Yeah, kind of scary.
And it is scary. And I think one of her quiet goals in sort of bringing the foundation to fruition was, what are we going to do about this? And there are a lot of organizations that are involved in some way in youth safety, including a fabulous partner of ours, NIOSH, who has what's called Talking Safety, which is a great program. I think that there are limitations to what we've sort of seen, right? And grateful to everyone who's willing to be in that space. But the recognition that to have a really big impact is a really expensive deal. It requires a huge lift from a fundraising standpoint. And if you're NIOSH, you don't fundraise, right? Like, you're already invested in the public good. And if we're going to do this really, really well, it has to be free. It has to be free. It has to be accessible. And there's some programs out there, not in the domestic market, but there are some programs internationally that really have made a difference in youth safety in numbers, diminishing numbers of incidents, but also in buy-in from the corporate community, because I think that's really important, right? Like, we need to be in the school systems. We need to have good partners in the trades and the crafts. We need to have really strong relationships. And so I think the prohibitive factor has been money. It's expensive. It's also really time-consuming. And in order to develop a curriculum, it requires a huge pool of SMEs. The good news for me is, once again, I can lean on BCSP. We develop credentials. It's what we do, of the highest standard. And so I have this immediate, pool of resources on the backside.
Of subject matter experts.
I do. And they're available and anxious. Right, let's do this. Let's fix it. And we have partners who can provide us with the platform, or are interested in that space of making it accessible to everyone. We have tremendous amount of corporate interest, and so now we're here, and everyone's been anxious. But if you're interested, if it rings a bell with you, I would like to see every mayor in every city who has a program for hiring youth in the summer, before we throw a yellow vest on them, let's make sure they've done this, right? Let's make sure they've fulfilled and gotten their digital badge. So they'll have their own unique digital badge. They'll be able to present that to employers. Employers will have a database that they can search. And let's have some pride in this. And
so would it be accurate to say kind of the big idea behind youth safety is preparing our next generation of workforce? And so that not only do they, as they get those teen jobs, that we want our kids to have jobs and work experience, that their employers aren't thinking, oh, they're just a kid, we don't need to train or educate them to the same level we would our other employees, because it's temporary in nature, or they're young, or there's other employment laws that we don't have to comply with, or we need to remember about working hours or whatever. But it's providing that foundational piece to keep those young workers safe in their youth jobs, but also a foundation to build on when they enter the workforce. Is that the big idea?
I think is to increase awareness. We want to
Yeah.
educate them about
Yeah.
what their role is in the workplace. It's
Yeah.
also about personal responsibility to their coworkers, right?
Sure.
So we'd like them to be in a position to have enough information to be educated so that they can advocate for themselves and their coworkers, so
Yeah.
that they can reasonably spot risk
Yep.
and be responsible enough to report risk, because they have this awareness and knowledge that they didn't otherwise have. It's also really interesting, that's the conversation with the trades. We would really like these kids to go through this process so that before they enter a journeyman program or an apprenticeship program, they already have a commitment to safety.
Yeah. They
So
came
that
with
this
the
isn't
tools.
something that they had to be taught later on. They have this sense of self and responsibility to other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because safety's invisible, Joe.
Right.
Like, I'm not a safety professional. It's in everything.
It's
in everything.
It is in everything.
And
yeah.
kids don't know that.
Right. Right.
It's okay. Unless they're growing up in a
Right.
household where their parent is a safety professional, they don't know.
Yeah. And the idea is if this youth safety initiative, when it has legs, which will be soon, that there's access. So there aren't barriers to access to the information, to the education, to the awareness. Free. Right.
It's free.
Exactly.
It has to be entirely free. And then, I mean, it's a huge, it's a big lift. So we need a 50-state solution. We need a massive rollout plan.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we have pieces in place for that. We already have the structure around the curriculum. So it's finishing the delivery mechanisms, and there are a lot of moving parts. But we want it in every high school. I want it in every employer for onboarding.
Yeah.
So that every kid that walks through, and maybe it's a natural fit for onboarding. And if I end up reaching the 45-year-old who's got a midlife change
Who's
and
never
careers,
had,
but never had safety, good for us, right?
Right.
It's the same baseline of information that everyone should have access to.
Yeah.
So
Fabulous.
let's put it in that space. Yeah.
That's a lot of work for the foundation, and it's fabulous, important work.
Yeah.
So question, where does the funding come from? How does that piece work?
Well, it's tricky, right?
As the philanthropy officer, this is your focus, right?
Right. So the philanthropy officer is a fun role because we get to give away money, but we also get to ask for money. So I get the dual opportunity. Fortunately, we have some fabulous support from BCSP proper, right? Like they didn't just to say, hey, let's have a foundation, but we're not going to give you any support or resources. So they're fabulous that way, and they're super committed. But it's from individuals. We have major donors who've looked at us and said, we've done scholarships at other places, or we've done scholarships with the other we're interested in supporting you in scholarships, but let's do these programs. Like, we haven't had this place before, so let's do that. And we have companies that are in that same space that safety may not be entirely what they do, but they want a robust safety culture. They believe in a robust safety culture. So they may come from a different industry, but they get this as a part of their commitment to community and a commitment to their workers. That investing in this means that their kids will grow up safe.
Right.
It also is self-interested, right? They would like to attract people into their company structure who have some sense of safety already. Right. It supports their culture long term, and they feel like if they do this now,
growing the workforce for tomorrow.
Exactly right, and growing an educated workforce for tomorrow, who doesn't think of safety as a burden or rules or regulation, but it's a part of their core being, and it's a value for them personally.
And they have a language for it when they get to work.
Right. And so it makes it easier on that employee and employer, and it makes it easier for them as well. So it's both. It's individual support and corporate support. And then fortunately, we also have some project support from other foundations. So that 502, it's interesting. You could have that interfoundation relationship. So we're working with other foundations and endowments who are in education and workforce development and youth safety space, or would like to be there in young person health, youth health. So, and they see this as a direct reflection, both from a workforce development and from healthy communities and access.
Right. So how long have you been with the foundation, Christine?
2 years.
2 years
in October. So they hired me to start the foundation. She had a very specific vision of what she wanted to accomplish, and so did the board.
Yeah.
And so we've been there. I've been there since the very beginning.
See, and you're not a safety professional, because that wouldn't necessarily be the fit for a philanthropy officer.
No,
but you're getting dangerously knowledgeable, or as the pun intends, accidentally.
Yes.
You're accidentally becoming a safety professional.
I am. I think, so asking for money is a tricky thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it has to be values-based.
Yeah.
You have to really believe in why you're asking people to join you on this important journey of commitment of resources, whether it's time from volunteering or financial resources.
Yeah.
And safety makes sense to me. I came to the foundation from capital campaign work, building buildings. You know, it's real obvious, bricks and mortar, we need it.
Yeah.
And most of my work was done in rural healthcare. So if you're out in the middle of the Dakotas,
Yes.
or if you're out in Northern California, other places where if an accident happens, you're 2 hours away from a medical facility, that's a problem.
You're talking about access.
I am. And also recognizing that those healthcare institutions are also maybe the largest employer in a region.
Right.
And that's not a big employer, but if the hospital should go away, then it radiates out to the town too. And so it's high need, right? These are, so safety seems to resonate to me that way as well.
Yeah.
And I kind of started to think about it, and I'm sure that this is probably very not safety, but I think of it as the invisible web that holds and binds us together.
It's 100% safety.
Okay.
Yes. Keep going with that. Yeah.
Is that, I don't know if that's a common phrase. I don't know.
It's not. You made it up, but I'm understanding what you're saying. It is a tie that binds us together.
It does.
Yeah.
It's in everything. It's in how we grow our food and how we deliver our food to the grocery. It's in how healthcare is delivered. It's in our IT systems. It's in our roadways. It's in all the things that make it possible for us to get everything done every day. Safety is the built-in component, but no one sees it.
Right.
So sometimes it's not part of the conversation, the bigger society conversation. Like, what's the value of what's the value of our existence? Well, it's built on safety.
Yeah. Beautifully put. Beautifully.
So
it is invisible until something goes wrong.
Until that's what I always say. That's the only time we see it. That's the only time we have the bigger public conversation about the safety. And so that's why it's the invisible thread. And but it holds and binds us together as communities, and as small communities of families, and as large communities in neighborhoods. And so it really struck a chord with me, because it's an area of high need, and I think that safety should be, safety is a human right, and I don't think that you can have a really good conversation about the value of a brand, the value of a corporate reputation, or the value of any of those things without including the human factor. So it's fun. So that's why. So there's value to me. And so when I'm asking someone to come along on that journey with us, when I'm asking a company to come along, it's a little aspirational, right? Let's be our best selves. And let's do this together. So that's kind of it for me.
That's beautiful.
It's
Beautifully
fun.
put. What great work.
It's great work. It gets me excited every single day. It's a really cool environment. It's an amazing opportunity. We're gonna do the summit, and it was our first thing, right? And it was only 100 people, but that's what we wanted, right? We wanted 100 people to really connect with each other. Maybe it gets to 150 in 2 years. They did, so much so that we're going to Toronto for the World Congress.
Oh wow!
So, we thought, hey, we got in 2 years to plan this. It'll be super. No, we're going to go to the World Congress, and we're going to hold a 2-day summit with the same sort of like conversations and experiences before that. And during that time, and the intent is to get more of a global perspective and then be able to bring some of those individuals and bring that community back to the 2021.
Sure.
But I don't think I anticipated that much, like, this is amazing. And it was great. So yeah, we're off and running again.
That's fantastic. So as we wrap up our time today, I'm thinking about you've dropped so many great ideas for people. So first, if someone listening is like, hey, maybe my company would be interested in helping the foundation.
Okay.
Where should they go?
They can go right to our website, bcspfoundation.org, and there's a contact us button, but there's also phone numbers there.
Sure.
And they can, if they're already a credential holder, you can just call into BCSP and someone will put you directly through to me.
Yeah.
But I would start with the bcspfoundation.org, and you can see more about our programs. And Jill, we do have programs that specifically support corporate culture.
Okay.
So if you're really interested in supporting your safety culture and you want to find pathways to do that, we can help you with that as well.
Okay, that's a great resource.
Yeah.
And so if people are interested in applying for the scholarship for school, for themselves, for their own development, they can do that through the website as well, find the information there.
They can.
Right? And then the other was about the research and innovation grants to apply for, and you can do that through your website too?
You can, and then we also have a summit page, and so I'm going to tell you they're currently redoing that summit page right now, so it's great. We'll have all of the findings from the last summit, and then we'll have preview for the future summits there.
Okay.
So all of that basic information is right there on the website, and we're happy to have people access it and run through the contact page, or just give us a call.
Sure.
Yeah.
And if someone is inspired by what they heard about the youth safety initiative that you're starting to work on, can they just send you an email or pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to be part of the conversation?
Yeah, please include me in this process.
Okay.
I'm ready to be, if you're a subject matter expert, I'm happy to share the information with you on how you can put your oar in and will really help us row.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah.
That's fabulous. Christine, thank you so much for your time. You
great,
are
Jeff.
an accidental safety professional.
Oh, I'm excited now.
You've got it down.
Okay.
Thank you for the work that you're doing.
We're
Thank you for the
excited.
work that the BCSP is doing. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for the time, Jill.
Yeah. And thank you all for spending your time listening today. And more importantly, thank you for your contribution making sure your workers, including your temporary workers, make it home safe every day. If you'd like to join the conversation about this episode or any of our previous episodes, you can follow our page and join the Accidental Safety Pro community group on Facebook. If you aren't subscribed and want to hear past or future episodes, you can subscribe in iTunes, the Apple Podcast app, or any podcast player you'd like. You can also find all of our episodes at vividlearningsystems.com/podcast. We'd love it if you could leave us a rating and review us on iTunes so that other safety professionals can join in the conversation and connect with one another here on the podcast. If you happen to have a suggestion for a guest, including if it's you can contact me at social@vividlearningsystems.com. Until next time, thanks for listening.